you work for 35 years and then you want to retire for 25 or 30 years. So you have to put enough money away to actually hold you through your life.
And so I heard something once that said the best time to start saving is yesterday.
The best time to start saving was 20 years ago.
Oh, okay. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Bizzin Podcast. With me I have CJ Smit, who is a certified financial planner. And so CJ, now we're going into I would say, more interesting topic. I like retirement planning and investments, and I think a lot of people are more open to hear about planning, or we'll find out from you now, the expert behind that. Speak a little bit about investment and retirement planning. How important is it for us to start early in terms of that?
I think it's crucial, definitely. I mean, if you think about it, you work for 35 years and then you want to retire for 25 or 30 years. So you have to put enough money away to actually hold you through your life.
Yeah.
I mean, and I mentioned in the first podcast that we did was you either die too early or you live too long.
Yeah.
So if you live too long, what kind of provision did you make to do that?
Exactly.
And I mean, I've spoken to a lot of people, and they don't necessarily understand the long game in retirement planning.
Yes.
Everybody thinks, okay, no, but I want to do things now, and it's that instant gratification mindset that we're all in. That's driven by social media, that if you want something now, you can just go on your phone and you can do it.
Yes.
While with retirement planning and long-term investing, it's more having a goal, and how am I going to reach that goal?
Yes.
And what markers can I put in place to make sure that I can reach that goal?
Yeah.
It's almost like if we drive from George to Potchefstroom, and okay, so that's our goal. That's where we want to get to. But all the way there's these markers. Okay, when you reach Beaufort West, when you reach Kimberley, when you reach and there's two things happening when you reach Beaufort West. Okay, so you can see, okay, it's still 800 k's to reach Potchefstroom, so it's still a far way to go. But you can always look back as well and see, okay, so I've done 200 k's, 300 k's already, and I think that's the idea with long-term investing, is to have a goal. What do you want to reach, and to then put markers in there to almost like a checkbox to say, okay, I've reached this. I can check it off. I can look back of what I've done so far, and I can always plan for where I'm going.
That's so important. That's why we brought in a goals function on the Bizzin app as well. It's just to celebrate those wins when you get to that stadium as well. And so I heard something once that said the best time to start saving is yesterday, right?
No, it's actually a bit different.
Okay.
So the best time to start saving was 20 years ago.
Oh, okay.
The second best time is today. Yeah. So
okay. No, that's great. So what is the common mistakes that people does when they start investing?
they listen to friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for some other reason, people listen to somebody at a braai, you know, and you can. People just think, okay, investing is you're going to put money in, you're going to get 1 million times growth on it. There's going to be no risk involved, and you're going to just be happy in the next month or two. And then when it doesn't happen, then they don't understand why it's not happening. And I think it's not realistic.
Yes.
I think you do hear of stories like that, but I would say for 90%, even more, 95% of the people, they just don't tell you that it didn't work.
Yeah.
So,
it's like that a grandfather that all like you only hear when he gambles. You only hear when he's winning.
Exactly.
But the rest of the time when he's losing money, you never hear from that. And I think that's the same as well when you hear from your friends around the braai. You know, that one time that they hit the jackpot with trading or whatever they were doing to get a big return on the investment. That's when you hear about it. Otherwise, if you ask them in a month's time again, he'll probably end up saying, no, he ended up going a different route.
Exactly. And I think with that, I think that's where wisdom comes in. Is to say, okay, but who's the people that you surround yourself with that can actually speak life into your finances?
Exactly.
Who are you going to allow to speak life into it? Is it going to be somebody at a braai, or is there certain people, and it doesn't need to be an advisor always, but maybe it is. Maybe you do have a good relationship with your advisor. And if you don't have one, go and get one. I think it's very important. But maybe there's this fruit in somebody that you can go and ask, and you can see, hey, I see what you did and how you're living your life, and there's fruit in that, and just guide me through it. And I just want to name, because I get this quite a lot. So why advisors? Why do I need people surrounding me with who's going to tell me what to do? And I think first, just before we get there, I think we all went through school, we all went through university, but nobody ever told you what to do with your finances. And then suddenly you start working, and now everybody expects you to know what to do with your finances. And I'm sure you see it in the tax space as well, accounting space as well, that there's a lot of people that think they know how to do it, and there's a lot of people who just don't do it at all. They almost put their head in the ground and they hope for the best.
Yes.
And I think that's why you need advisors around you, not necessarily just financial advisors, but a person that you can go to that can help you with your finances. And I think the three reasons that I want to mention why we need advisors in your life is, firstly, to help guide you, to get success, to help you with your strategic planning, your budgeting, things to look at. The second thing that I want to know is, want to note is, it's for your safety.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of people that get in so much debt that they don't know how to get out. And it was just because they started the whole thing wrong. They didn't have good advice in the beginning. And then it spiraled. So that's the second thing, why you need advisors in your life. And I think the third thing is to stay humble. Because you might be the guy who did get the jackpot and suddenly you got a few million rand, and what do? You just go and spend it because nobody ever told you how to use it. And to have people in your life that can actually keep you grounded, keep you humble in this situation, and help you through this is so important.
Definitely. And I think that's there's also, I want to say, a talent in being able to see the difference between short term, like to balance your liquidity, if you want to say that, to budget perfectly, like between short term investment and long term investment, right? So there's a lot of people, I mean, especially myself, that's dealing with entrepreneurs. A lot of them are saying, like, my business will be my retirement one day, right? Or they have a couple of properties, that will be my retirement one day. So now entering into a point where you actually start building up an emergency fund, looking at retirement planning or 65 or 70, is there a perfect formula that you can use? Like, is there something that you can guide the listeners to say, save up 3 months for emergency fund, right? Then you look at, is there something in the financial planning space where people can say this is, or is it just a case-by-case basis every single time?
I do think there's let's call it a framework. Let's call it that.
That's great.
Okay, there's a framework. There's almost like a foundation that we can build from.
Yes.
For everybody, it's going to be different in that framework. How they're going to do it. For some people, I mean, when I speak about to young people, they're always like, more risk, more reward. Let's go for that. And then 2 years down the line, then they want to get married, and then they want to pull all those funds. So then all the risk that they took, there wasn't any time to get the reward in that. So I'm definitely a firm believer to have an emergency fund.
Yes.
I mean, I've mentioned it in the previous podcast as well. It's not if there's going to be a rainy day, it's when there's a rainy day.
Yes.
And what are you going to fall back on? So for me, it's definitely to say, when you start your budget, it's almost like a non-negotiable. You have to build a emergency fund. And I think you can't put your emergency fund in your normal bank account. Because for some other reasons, we justify ourselves.
Yes, exactly.
And we say, okay, I've saved for 4 or 5 months, and it looks like there's a nice kind of amount in there, and I'm very chuffed with myself. So now I want to almost give myself a high five and go on a nice vacation.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, then it's totally, it just doesn't work like that. So I'm always telling the people, let's get an emergency fund where you have access to the money quite fast, but it's not in your own bank account where you can just drag and drop. Okay, so within 24 hours you can get the money out. So if there's an emergency, you can get it back. You have to get growth that's more than inflation. So it can't be normal bank account where there's 2 or 3%, even less maybe, in there. but it is a bit separate. So you have to actually fill in a form, because just by filling in a form, suddenly nobody withdraws, because it's usually not that big of a problem that you think.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think definitely start with that. And then everybody wants to almost be financially free.
Yes.
Okay, so how do you get to a point where you're financially free? And I think we almost modernized it by calling it retirement, because that's what our parents grew up with. Is, okay, you save all your life, and then at 65, for some or other reason, everybody can retire. Or that's what everybody thinks.
Yes.
And for a lot of people, that is financially freedom. I mean, you get to that point where you've saved a lot of your money over the years, and you get to 65 or 60, and there's enough that you can retire with.
Yes.
And I think that's my hope for everybody. But now the question gets to, and especially when you speak to entrepreneurs, is first we have to see that goal.
Yeah.
Okay, so Potchefstroom, that's our 65. What do we need to get to do that? And when we see, okay, we are actually coasting, we're going to reach this goal easy, then we can make it 60. What should we do for 60? What should we do for 55? How can we diversify in a sense that we can do it before 55?
Exactly.
And work it backwards. But a lot of people want this instant gratification. I'm going to buy 10 cows and one property, and I saw somebody else do it on Pinterest, and so this is going to be the best thing ever. And it doesn't work.
Yeah. No, that's 100%. And you mentioned the word there, diversify. Right. So how important is it for investors to diversify on their portfolio? And maybe you can touch on a bit of like different asset classes. You don't have to give an opinion on what you think is the best. But then, because I mean, if you do look at somebody that's investing in properties, you look at somebody that's investing in their own business, and then you look at somebody that's investing in a retirement annuity, for instance, and then you have people investing in endowment policies. So is that the right way to do it, or should we all put our money into a retirement fund and know that there's somebody else that's managing the money for us? Should we try and be bold and put it in properties and our own businesses and everything? Like, where do we get to the different asset classes that we need to focus on in terms of that?
So I think with that, when you are an entrepreneur and you go, everything is in my business, I'm going to put everything in there. So, because all entrepreneurs that I meet, they back themselves that they're going to grow their money faster than anybody else.
Exactly.
And which is great. I mean, why not? I mean, somebody has to do it. Why not you? So you can definitely do that. But obviously, 100% of the risk is then there. So, but just by getting different asset classes involved in your portfolio, you can start getting a ratio where you say, okay, I'm not putting 100% in there. It's only going to be 60% that's in my business, and the rest I'm diversifying. So because not all of us do have a farm where you can get cattle to walk around, or you've got the ability at the age of 22 to buy property, the easiest way is to actually just go to a Alexander or a Allen Gray or a Signia or a Coronation, for that matter, and you give them a money, and they go into the different asset classes where you get like equities. They invest in property, they invest in cash, they invest in bonds, and there's so many possibilities in that, that if you only want to do properties, you don't need to go and buy a property. You can actually just invest in a fund that only owns property, and you get the same kind of returns. But it's way easier to do it like that than to say, okay, here's the keys, here's my property that you have.
And one thing that's great about retirement planning as well, there are a few tax benefits in certain funds, right? So maybe just quickly touch on a few things that people can look at in terms of saving up and also getting a tax benefit for that.
I'm actually going to throw this over to you. I mean, at the end of the day, you're the accountant, but it's definitely like that. I mean, because you are investing into a retirement fund. So for a lot of people, it's when you're in a company, it's in a pension fund or a provident fund. If it's in your own capacity, it would be a retirement annuity. And all of this have different names, but it means the same thing. You're contributing towards your retirement plan. And all retirement funds there's a tax deduction when you do your e-filing at the end of the year. I don't know if you want to touch on how that equation look like.
Yes. I can definitely. So it's 27.5% of your taxable income that you can, to a maximum of 27.5% or maximum of 350,000 for the year. And then if you contribute into that, then obviously and it's more than the 27.5% or it's more than the 350,000, it can carry over to the following year as well. So that is a great deduction.
Let's make that a bit more practical now. Okay, so 100 Rand. Okay, so just to explain this clearly, okay? So I give you 100, my total income is 100 Rand. 10 Rand of that I put away in a retirement annuity.
Yeah.
Okay, so am I understanding correctly that on the 100 Rand I pay tax on it, but because I paid 10 Rand into an investment or a retirement annuity, the SARS is only going to see my taxable income as 90 Rand.
Correct, 100%. So if you want to turn that into a tax benefit, you can look at the tax bracket that you are falling onto. And say, for instance, you're falling on a 26% tax bracket or a 31% tax bracket, it will be 31% of that 10 Rand will essentially be a direct tax benefit. So it will be 3 Rand 10 cents on that 10 Rand.
And what I then usually tell my clients, because that's the fastest growth that you can get.
Exactly.
If you take that money, which SARS gives you back, and you put that into your retirement annuity, because now suddenly SARS is helping you to retire one day. Unfortunately, most people see it as a mid-year bonus and they buy golfing things or whatever. But I think if you can use that and put it back into an investment, then you're actually using the system to help you to retire one day.
Definitely. Well, I mean, there's so much more to say on this topic, but I think people must just reach out to see it directly if they want more on that. Guys, thank you for being on this podcast and thank you for listening to what CA has to say. We look forward to our next one. It's speaking about leadership. Stay tuned for our next one.